The new Prime Minister Chris Hipkins has made his first move to tackle the cost of living crisis by extending the period of half-priced public transport and the 25 cents a litre petrol tax cut. The Prime Minister says this will reduce the average 60-litre tank of petrol by $17.25. ACT leader David Seymour from Ngāpuhi is with us now from teaomāori.news. Tēnā koe, David. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, look, tēnā koe, and apologies, we had some technical difficulties, but hopefully it'll all come through okay.
We got it now. Hey, look, extending our use of cheap fuel and public transport, do you think this really is the best way to address our cost of living crisis?
Well, no, it's not. I can completely understand why Labor have done it. It's certainly a very good political sugar hit. Who doesn't like free money? But of course, you have to, if you believe in kaitiakitanga, you have to look at the whole ecosystem and ask, well, what other things does this mean? For one thing, it means the government will borrow an additional $718 million of deficit. Pumping that cash around the economy causes inflation in other things that whānau have to buy, whether it is food, which is going up rapidly, whether it's rent. The more cash sloshing around, the more inflation. And then, of course, there's also the fact that if you care, and again, I reference kaitiakitanga, if you care about future generations, you have to ask yourself, is it just to be borrowing money with bigger government deficits today, knowing that those will be paid off by tamariki and mokopuna in years to come? So those are the questions that I have for the government. I think what would have been more responsible is to ask, well, okay, everybody up and down the country has to be really tight with their household budget. They see the price of milk going up. Someone said to me the other day, the cereal we buy has gone from $7 to $11. We notice things like that. So we have to save elsewhere. This government is at record levels, but it's not making its own savings. It's just saying we'll borrow a bit more and kick the can down the road. So no, that is not the kind of guardianship I think the government should be taking of the economy.
And we know that borrowing does have potential problems down the line. How do you feel then that this aligns with the Prime Minister's promise to focus on bread and butter issues?
Well, I just make one observation that the Prime Minister is promising a kind of reset. He said he's listened to people, he's going to change. But the first significant thing that he's done has actually been to continue a Labor policy they already had and continue one that perhaps wouldn't have been recommended. So that is, I think, a disappointment, because I ultimately judge politicians by the policies they deliver and how that affects people's lives. This will be a good, quick sugar hit. People will like it, I have no doubt. But I just ask people to think about the wider kaitiakitanga guardianship of the economy and the wider effects here.
So if we look at recent polls then, taking a slightly different turn, shows Labor hasn't lost support with the resignation of Jacinda Ardern. What do you think these early polls in an election year mean for the country and for ACT?
Well, I was surprised because I didn't think that Jacinda Ardern's departure would see more people vote for Labor. But I guess there were some people, maybe she was holding them back. Maybe the new Prime Minister getting, a week of wall-to-wall media coverage saying, hey, here's the shiny new thing. Maybe that's what explains the polls. But what it means for ACT, we're very happy with our polling. It's at record levels for ACT. But what's important to us is that we hear people's concerns and aspirations. People are concerned about, the rising prices. They're concerned about, is it safe to even run a dairy in this country? People are concerned about the way that te reti is being interpreted. Treaties are supposed to bring people together. This one increasingly tries to divide us into tangata whenua and tangata te reti as two different types of New Zealander. Those are the kinds of issues where ACT, I feel, has listened and provides solutions. If we can do that, I think we'll see more people supporting ACT.
And just very quickly before you go, how are you spending Waitangi Day, and what does Waitangi Day mean to you?
Well, I'll be starting with the prayer for the nation up at the upper marae on the treaty grounds, and then I'll be moving back down to Tamaki Makaurau to prepare for my speech that I'm giving, the first speech that the ACT Party's putting on for 2023 the next day. So it means, it is the basis of modern New Zealand. It means a lot to me because I have ancestors on both sides of that signing. But funnily enough, being a politician, the political year always starts around Waitangi, so in practical terms, it usually just means lots of mahi.
Yep, beautiful. ACT leader David Seymour, appreciate your time today, ngā mihi.
Tēnā.